Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu, and good morning and good afternoon to each and everyone. So I am Nasreen and Moctar, and today I will be presenting the summary and conclusion section of the article, The Language Policies on Impact on the Language Maintenance and Teaching, focuses only on Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, and the Philippines by David et al., and it is published in 2009. So my group mates will discuss the language policies of each country, while my part will only focus on the overall findings and the overall final insights of the authors. So what is the background of this study? To understand, we need to look at the background of this article, where the authors wrote this because many minority languages in Southeast Asia are endangered or slowly disappearing. They wanted to examine how government language policies and community attitude influence whether a minority languages survive or continue to decline. Now, this study looks at the four countries, which is the Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, and the Philippines. The authors also analyze school policies, revitalization programs, community initiative, media influences, and the use of technology. They also use theories from Grenoble and Whaley, Hinton and Hale, Cristal Cavallaro, and De Colizzi to interpret the findings. So, why would they have this study? What is the purpose of this study? The authors aims to answer several important questions. First is that how do language in education policies affect minority languages? Why are minority languages shifting or disappearing in these countries? What revitalization strategies are currently being used? Which strategies seem effective and which are not? And what must government and communities do in the future to prevent the language use? So this article is relevant because these issues continue today, especially here in our country, the Philippines, who is very known for having multilingual society. So how was this study conducted? So this study is not an experiment. It is actually focuses on the policy analysis and documentation review, where the authors examine government policies, look at the school practices, analyze revitalization programs in different regions, and studied examples of endangered languages such as Iranon, Simay, Bidayo, Butuanon, Surigano, and many more. Then they compared how these four countries differ in the treatment of minority languages. Now let's have an overview of the language policy, because my group mates will talk about the comprehensive language policy, but I will just give you a summary of all of them. Now, these are the language acquisition policies of the four countries. In Malaysia, Malay is national language and used in national schools. Chinese and Tamil are used in national type schools, while English is taught only as a subject. Malaysia also has this people's own language program, where they has this 15 minimum of students who will enroll to study the language. Now, in Singapore, there is this bilingual policy where English is the main medium of instruction and students learn their mother tongue only as a subject. While in Brunei, there is also a bilingual policy using both standard and Malay and English as a medium of instruction. While here in the Philippines, English and Filipino are used at the different school levels, where the mother tongue are used only as auxiliary languages in primary school. So what is the main finding of this article? So the key point is that language shift in this countries is not only caused by the school language policies, but actually it is mainly driven by the people's attitude and their belief that the certain languages such as English, Malay, or Mandarin are more useful economically and politically. They believe in that. Because of this practical mindset, many younger speakers are abandoning their minority mother tongues in favor of these majority languages. So how can we be able? How this study also revitalized the given language policies of each country, where the article moves into how minority and endangered languages are being maintained or revitalized using different types of literacy and teaching strategies. Now, this is where the theory of Grenoble and Whaley classify revitalization programs along a continuum from total immersion, which uses the local language for all instruction, to partial immersion, to programs with very little language content. Now, Hinton and Hale identify five categories of revitalization program. First, it's a school-based program. Second is the after-school or non-school programs. Third is the adult language classes. Fourth is documentation and material development. And lastly is the home-based programs. So this framework guides the examples that the author explained in the article. Now, in school-based programs, there are several examples of school-based programs. First is that in Malaysia, Simae is one of the aboriginal languages, and it was introduced into the national curriculum beginning in the year 1996 and fully implemented by 2000. And in Sarawak also, a play school uses Bidayu as its medium of instruction funded by UNESCO. While here in our Philippines, Solfed worked with the NGOs to fund Butuanon instruction in public schools. A memorandum of agreement and et.al was signed in 2006 regarding that. Now, the children's program outside school, where in outside school setting, several community groups run language classes for children. While in Malaysia, Sikh temples teach Punjabi and Hindi is taught every Sunday and at the Lakshmi Narayan temple. And some ethnic associations also run weekly language classes. However, these programs often struggle with attendance, so many do not last long. Now, in adult programs, adults also participate in revitalization effort. For example, is in Sarawak, the Bidayu adult classes are held weekly in Kampong Kuop and Kampong Kiki, where these programs help adult speakers to relearn and to reconnect with their languages. Also, another thing is the documentation and materials, wherein the documentation is one of the strongest revitalization strategies because in Sabah, researchers develop an orthography for Iranon and they produce 175 booklets where a picture of dictionary and a collection of traditional stories. And for Simae, for over 2,000 words were collected to produce dictionaries and lexicon. While here in our Philippines, Butuanon had almost no written material. So Solfed created a syllabus and grammar book using the Cebuano Visayan as a guide because they also they also created recordings for classroom rules. Now, the Bidayo community worked from 2002 to 2003 to create a unified orthography to standardize their dialect. Now, how is the development of writing system? Creating a writing system or orthography is extremely important. It is very important because it allows a language to be thought, to be written, published, and preserved. And that it also unifies speakers of different dialects as seen in the Bidayo language development efforts. Now, technology as a tool. Now, the authors also highlight the importance of the modern technology, wherein Hinton and Hale argue that technology may be the ultimate solution for revitalization. For example, is in technological tools include online dictionaries and grammars, blogs, multimedia tutorials, digital archives like Dobes and Ilar, community website for Telego, Hokkien and Hakka, and these platforms provide pronunciation guides, songs, and community interaction. Now, there is also this mass media for revitalization. Mass media is very important also for revitalizing a endangered language because in like radio stations in Malaysia, they offered short lessons in Hokkien and used in dialects such as Hakka, Cantonese, and Tuchu. In Sabah also and Sarawak, ethnic languages like Bajau, Kadazan, Dusun, and Bidayu are broadcast. So these television channels shows dramas in Cantonese, Hokkien, Telugu, and Malaya. Music and recorded song in dialect also help maintain the language used. While here in our country, the Philippines, languages like Subanin and Surigao-non are kept alive through songs, newspaper, and vlogs. Another thing is the community initiative. So this is where the communities also plays an important role in revitalizing and endangered languages, because some associations like the Malaysian Hakka Association where they celebrate culture but do not always focus on the language use. In Brunei, minority groups continue celebrating the traditional festivals through formal and language planning. And then in Sarawak, the Bidayo Language Development Project actively works to revitalize vocabulary, develop literature, and advocate for teaching the language in schools. In Singapore, the government does not support minority languages beyond mother tongue subject, because English dominant bilingualism has reduced the use of Chinese vernaculars and other heritage languages, wherein only a few community-led Indian languages taught the language. Now, what is the summary and conclusion of this article? So this article by David et al. Concludes by emphasizing why minority languages matter. This is where the drawing from Crystal's work, the authors highlight that languages enriches human ecology, expresses identity, preserve history, and offer unique insights into human knowledge. Because of these reasons are already well established, the authors argue that research should now focus on finding practical ways to reverse language shift. Now, another thing is that the authors also note that language policies in these four countries impact the minority languages, but not only the Malaysia and the Philippines attempt to include minority languages in schools, wherein the community efforts also contribute through documentation and campaigns. However, despite these attempts, many young speakers are shifting away from their mother tongues because they believe majority languages offer more social and economic advantages. They believe that this majority language will help them in the future purposes. Now, to end this article, the authors end with a strong reminder. They say that even if the government, communities, and organizations provide opportunities, the real survival of a minority language depends on how valuable its speakers thinks it is. Because if people see the language as useful in the modern world, they will maintain it. And if not, the language will continue to decline. And the main goal of the language planning is to give minority languages prestige and practical usefulness. But the author says current efforts are not enough. If stronger and more comprehensive language planning does not happen soon, most of the minority languages discussed in this article may disappear either in the near future or over time, depending on the vitality. Now, in summary, all of this article, what does this article tells us? The article shows that language policy, community action, media, and speakers' attitude all plays an important role in language survival. But the most important factor is whether speakers themselves see the language as valuable. This ends my report and a summary and conclusion of the article, and I hope you learned something. So I think that's all. Thank you for watching and have a good day.